People always talk about luck, and luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparedness. And I'd add a third thing, being open-minded. So, being a classically raised Asian American, my parents had two career paths for me, being a medical doctor and being a medical doctor. And while I did my very best to try to be a good son and, fulfill their dreams, it just
Yeah,
became clear as I got older, and certainly by the time I got into college, it just wasn't my calling, right? And the thing that
yeah.
I actually really enjoyed doing was what I did when I was a 10-year-old.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Andy Lin from Provoke Solutions. And today we'll be diving into his story a bit, as well as what his company does. And then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Andy, welcome. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to be on.
Andy, if we can kick things off, if you could kindly just introduce yourself and
Yeah,
tell the listeners just a bit about your background, maybe a snippet or two of your story.
perfect. So hi everybody, I'm Andy Lin. I'm CEO of Provoke Solutions. Um, we are a technology and management consulting firm, been in business for over 23 years and
Wow.
have operations here in North America as well as Asia Pacific. A bit of my personal story. I have always been technical. I started developing software when I was 10 years old. And so I'm very fortunate to be one of the few who, you know, kind of knew what their calling was at a young age. And even more fortunate that at this point in my career, I'm still pretty close to the thing that I fell in love with as a child, which was technology and, how we can improve lives. Um, I started off my career at Anderson Consulting, now better known as Accenture. And I've spent my entire career in consulting, working for a number of small to medium-sized businesses, um, ultimately landing where I am right now to head up Provoke Solutions and try to scale and run our business in a way that adds value to our clients and makes an impact to the market and grow its value that way.
Thanks. Tell me, Andy, how did you get into this business sector? What was that like? Like you said, you started when you were 10, but what was that like
Yeah,
initial interest, right?
yeah,
It made you so
yeah.
passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah. So, people always talk about luck, and luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparedness. And I'd add a third thing, being open-minded. Um, so, being a classically raised Asian American, my parents had two career paths for me, being a medical doctor and being a medical doctor. And while I did my very best to try to be a good son and, fulfill their dreams, it just
Yeah,
became clear as I got older, and certainly by the time I got into college, it just wasn't my calling, right? And the thing that
yeah.
I actually really enjoyed doing was what I did when I was, a 10-year-old.
My word.
Um, and
Purpose.
so, I found consulting, just going to a job fair with a buddy. Like I wasn't even out looking for a job. And, we
Yeah.
were walking around, and Anderson Consulting had this big booth. And I was like, oh, what's that all about? So I went and talked to, the people behind the booths, and they were telling me a little bit about, what the consulting industry was and what life
Mm.
was like working for a consulting firm. And it was like this instant, like this is the right place, right time for Andy to be, because it ticked all the
Perfect.
boxes. Right, I can get to work with technology. I solve different problems. I work with a different number of clients. Um, because like I'm not one that I could imagine myself driving into a parking spot, being in the same office, this is before
It's
COVID, for,
repetitive.
25, 30 years, right? Like I wanted the variety, and this felt like the perfect match. So yeah, I mean, that's how I sort of stumbled into this field that just happened to very much align with my personality and my desires.
My word. Talking about this field, based on your expertise, like you mentioned, you've been at this for quite some time. What are the current market trends that you are aware
Yeah,
of? Like,
yeah,
what's the wind blowing like these days? Where's it blowing at?
yeah. It's different, but it's also very, very similar. If you look at what's happened with the arrival of the internet, and then it became going digital, then it became cloud, then it was product. And I think AI has been lurking around for 50, 60 years. And now I think it's really having its
Popping, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's really having its debut as having being something very impactful with the advent of Gen AI. And so
Mm.
what I'm seeing, as an industry is, the work that wasn't so commoditized, it was, specialized 10 to 15 years ago, is now
Yeah.
becoming very, very commoditized. And then for us as a consulting organization, especially when you're not an Accenture where you have hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
of different pricing levels, you have to pivot. And so, we've been looking for, well, what is that next thing that's going to take us out of commodity land.
Mm. Mm.
And I think generative AI is that new thing. So, and I think the industry is moving much more quickly than the other trends that I just mentioned. Like cloud took a
Yeah.
little while to adopt.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Gen AI adoption kind of being a lot faster than cloud 10 or 15 years ago. And
Yeah.
so the trend is happening, but it's also moving very, very quickly.
Having said that, what would your take be on, you're talking about Gen AI, on the future of work? What would your
Yeah.
take be on that?
Our whole go to market now is on the future of work. So, for as long as consulting's been in existence, right, client will present you a problem,
Yeah.
and then you figure out what the effort and what the work and skills and tasks that need to be done to produce a solution to that effort. And then you fill in that solution with humans, right?
Mm.
And the human can output about 40 hours a week, and that's what you use for your budgeting and estimating.
Yeah.
The world is now shifted to much of that work should be able to be done by 8 Gen AI agents. We call them digital coworkers. And so, say a piece of work used to be a 10-person team in
Yeah.
order to get that done. It
Mm.
might look more like 7 people with 3 of those roles being assumed by agents. I think as time moves on, and again, the pace is going to be quicker, you're going to go from 7 to 5 to 3. And then eventually you might be able to get very complex work done with 1 to 2 humans, and the rest of them are going to be done by agents. Um, so I think that's how the world is evolving and how that's what the future of work is. And what that means for us as humans is I think for all of the people who have always been pushing themselves, who've always had that growth mindset, like, what's next? What
Yes.
do I need to learn? How do I actually increase my impact? This is
Mm.
not going to be that disruptive. Gen AI becomes a great tool for those of us who are like that to get out of the rote, the mundane, the soul-sucking tasks that we
Yes.
still have to perform. And we don't get enough of our time and energy and creativity applied to solving the real problems, the nuanced problems, the hard problems. This
Yeah.
becomes a tool that enables us to do that. For kind of the class of workers who kind of sit in that middle where they're happy to do commoditized work, they're happy to do the same piece of work for the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to get hurt because that work is just, they're not going to be able to compete with Gen AI
With
agents in pace,
definitely
quality,
speed. Yeah.
repeated. Like they just, you can't compete. And so I think that's the impetus behind this next revolution in terms of how work is going to get done in the future of work, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's quite profound what you mentioned there. That I think the perspective on what we see on how one wants to grow your career, that the way that we used to do that in the past, maybe, is now to have maybe like a different narrative, a different look at it. To say, okay, right, well, what can I do to because it's not going anywhere.
That's right.
What do I have to do to adapt?
That's right.
To then be one of those three,
That's right.
or be part of that implementation of the AI in the business, or so
Exactly. 100%.
fully agree with
Um,
you.
yeah, it's just, the space for people to work on stuff that bots can do is going to be increasingly difficult to defend why
Yeah.
humans should do that. And there's lots of those tasks, even if you just look at software development, but
Mm.
outside of software development, right? Um, Expressed in the form of actual automatons, robots, right? Like
Yeah.
Optimus from Tesla to
Yes.
perform to do dishes, fold your laundry, vacuum. Those things are going to be increasingly handed off to agents.
Mm.
and then the humans get to work on it. I really don't want to see this as a threat. I want humans to see people to see this as an opportunity to work
Well
on
said.
the problems that really deserve our creativity, our intellect, our I think we've evolved like as a race, we've always evolved to be innovators. How do we
Yeah.
improve our lives? How do we solve bigger and bigger problems? And
Mhm.
this is going to free all of us up to really
Really
collectively tackle
can
those types of
and
problems.
allow us to focus on those things. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
tell me, Andy. I think this is maybe a good time that you tell the listeners what is it specifically what your what your company does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Provoke is a technology and management consulting firm. So we provide advisory as well as execution services.
Yeah.
Um, for the majority of our history, we've been doing custom application development primarily on cloud, doing, your typical brownfield and greenfield type of development work. And over the last 2 years, we've really started to incorporate generative AI into delivering services for our customers. We've developed a piece of patent pending IP that we call Nova. And Nova is both a platform and a
Yeah.
suite of pre-trained digital coworkers. So one of the first slices of work that we've gone out to attack is
Yeah.
test automation. Test automation as a concept's been around for 20 years, but it's poorly adopted and the code coverage is still really, really poor. And the reason is creating those test scripts and then maintaining those test scripts is again soul sucking, rote, mundane, and not something that the
Yes.
majority of developers wake up every morning going, yes, I get to go and, build test
Can't wait to go
automation.
do that.
And let me
Yeah.
go maintain it because the requirements change. And so we've built a digital coworker that can take requirements and generate all those automated tests automatically. And we are now working on the next phase of that, which is if it identifies defects, it's also going to automatically fix those defects to have that self-healing capability. And the most interesting and powerful thing about the IP and the product is um, as the human gives it feedback, like, hey, this test doesn't look good, this test
Yeah.
looked great, this test needs these kinds of changes, it gets smarter. And so the next time it is asked to generate tests against a similar type of situation, the output is going to be much closer to what the enterprise's standard or the organization expectation was going to be.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot of excitement and buzz from our customers because look, offshoring, people did it primarily because of cost savings, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of times those cost savings came at a cost, and the cost was quality. The cost was timeliness. And so, as an IT organization, it's very embarrassing to go to your business stakeholders and say, hey, I know we were supposed to go live this Friday, but QA hasn't finished doing their job. Or,
Yeah.
QA said they do it. You go and test, and you're like, oops, I don't think they covered these test cases, right?
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, look, our product Nova is going to eliminate all those problems. It's going to have a thorough put that is going to be way beyond any human team can compete with. And then to
Yeah.
put it in financial terms, because look, we're all kind of in a softer economy compared to the last decade right now.
Definitely.
Um, our math shows that if you were using Copilot, you can get using an offshore resource, you can get one automated test set of artifacts for about $100. If you use Nova, we bring that cost down to $3. Okay.
That
And you'll never get sued. They're never going to quit. They're not going to go on PTO. They're not going to be sick. They're not going to lose their knowledge. If you change your standards, you simply kind of upload the changes you want to make, and the digital coworker instantly absorbs that intelligence.
yeah.
Really, really difficult to justify why you would have something that's rote, mundane, and soul sucking continue to go, whether it's offshore or onshore, but having humans do that is just a waste of talent.
I'm already hearing a lot of value, that you guys bring to the table. Um, at top of my mind, I'm thinking now not just from a a cost saving point of view, but just from a productivity and a time saving point of view. I mean,
100%.
that's quite profound. The what would you say? Because there's a couple of value points here, but what would you say, from your side would be like the most significant value your business, bring to other businesses?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the big value that we bring is we believe that innovation is not optional. Innovation is required for every single
Mandate.
business across
Mandate.
every single industry. And this includes government, because I think a lot of times people go, oh, government, they don't need to innovate. We're a government entity. We don't need to innovate. You absolutely do. If you want your constituents to interact with you, that is aligned with how they interact with every other third party,
Yeah.
then your technology standards, your technology interfaces have to be the same. And so what we bring to the table is the ability to allow you to innovate much more cost effectively and to have your talent, your best talent, focus on the innovation, not on all these chores, tasks, soul sucking things that consume, by some studies, 40 to 60% of their time. So
Yeah.
imagine you're paying a really, really smart set of resources and they spend 40 to 60% of their time paying off technical debt, trying to figure out spaghetti code, try to get
Mm.
automated testing up to date. Take that all off their plate. Let the bots do that. And so that the humans can actually focus on how do we innovate? How do we serve our customers better? So the biggest value that Provoke brings is we enable our business, we enable our clients to achieve their innovation ambitions by using our services and the technology that we bring to the table through Nova. And an interesting
Yeah.
point is over
Excellent.
the last 6 months, our clients
Yeah.
have now asked us, can we just license the product? Because maybe sometimes they don't need a services component, but they sure want digital coworkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're actually now got a way to sell Nova as an independent product as well.
Oh, excellent. Hey, that's
Yeah,
good. I mean, that opens up a lot of new markets for you, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because a lot of our clients, like I think over the last 20 years, the growth of services business has gotten so huge that
Yeah.
the value is starting to flatten, right, by outsourcing so much work. And so I think
Mm.
there's this trend of, well, especially with generative AI, do we rotate spend that we used to have on services companies onto software products, and those products output is the same output that humans would have done? Um,
Yes.
and so we're also trying to, make sure we're aligning ourselves to that trend.
Yeah, I mean, just from a application point of view, or let's say, shelf products, is it, I see a lot of companies that they buying this products and then they're adding that one, then they're adding that one, then there's too many, and then there's a base legacy system that's been in place for the last 60 years as well, and now they're just adding to it, and then
Yeah,
after that they get to a place where they say, okay, but hold on, now we need to get some integration going here, because there's too many, obviously, of these lines running parallel. So, and it just like feed the monster, right? And it just builds on each other the whole time. So,
yeah,
I must say that's excellent value you guys are bringing to the table, man. I mean, that's
absolutely. We're really proud of what we've done with Nova. The
yeah,
nice thing about Nova is it is not adding to your developers tool footprint, right? Like, if you look at Copilot and all these Gen AI
yeah,
competitors, you have to learn another UI. You have to alt tab to another, application. You have to prompt
yeah,
it.
API. Yeah,
Nova, it works completely seamlessly with an existing organization's tools. Like you go into ADO, Jira, when
awesome.
you right click and assign a task, instead of having just humans to assign it to, you can now assign it to a digital coworker. Once you assign it, you're
Yeah.
done. It does its magic behind the scene. You can shut your laptop, go have lunch, go to bed, and when you wake up, the output is there for you to review. So we're not even adding to the technology footprint that developers are already inundated with.
This is so interesting for me. Um, I would like to get your opinion, Andy. If we can maybe just move it back a bit and a
Sure.
bit more from a 30,000 foot overview. Business in general, right? You've obviously been at this, like we said earlier, for quite some time. In your opinion, what type of mindset would you say is needed to be like a successful founder of a company?
Um, I know it's overused at this point, but it really is all of the components that line up to a growth mindset, meaning you never know enough. You have to have that constant curiosity,
Hmm.
and you have to be constantly going out there and learning and growing and seeing setbacks as a step closer to success, not seeing setbacks or stumbling as the end point or something to avoid. You have to embrace it, right?
Yeah.
If you try something and it doesn't work, you're one step closer to finding the thing that is going to work.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of resilience, right? Because it's really, really hard when you have all
It's
these
trial and error, right?
constraints,
Yeah.
expectations, and your self-imposed, your investors, your customers. You have to have the belief that we can make the breakthrough. We just haven't found it yet. And given enough time, given enough persistence and effort, the breakthrough will come. And that served me really, really well throughout all of my career, is to never take no for an answer, never think that, hey, it's over.
Yep.
We've seen too many failures. If you really believe that what you're onto is something worth solving and that you are making progress, right? This thing is just progress. It's like, are you getting 1% closer? Then you should keep going. Of course, there's always the fine line of like, when do you call it quits? When
Yeah.
there's enough data to suggest you've exhausted enough, and that statistically, it's unlikely that continuing is going to lead to a different outcome. But like resiliency, curiosity, I think are the key things that a good co-founder, or sorry, a good founder would have.
I fully agree with you. Especially when it comes to curiosity. Even some of the clients that obviously on our side, what we help with, they're growing their businesses. The A lot of times they had this strategy that was doing like really well for, let's say, 5 to 10 years, right? And then because of that lack of curiosity and not wanting to evolve with the times and how things change and technology that's growing, because of that, a lot of times they get to that place where they just hit that glass ceiling, right? And
That's
then
right.
one needs to look back and say, okay, what happened? And that's what I've learned, what from my mentors as well, is that you need to get to when things are going well, you need to already be on the next thing the whole time.
That's right.
And that means it's a, like you said, it must be, that curiosity bug must be like part of life,
It's
to
constant.
that's,
Yep.
and that's why I fully agree with you, or being resilient. um and you tell me, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
If you guys want to go to our website, you can go to
Yeah.
www.provokesolutions.com. If you're more focused on the product and you're more interested in the generative AI digital coworker product that we've built, you can go to Nova, that's KNOVVA and you can find out all the information about what our IP/product capabilities are, and how to get a demo.
Excellent. Andy, you've provided such good insight today. I can fully understand why you guys are so successful. The value that you guys bring, and specifically on that product that you mentioned, I mean, that is just next level, man.
I
Kudos on that.
appreciate that.
Wish you guys all the best. Thanks for hopping on. This was great.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. Appreciate the conversation.
Take care.
All right.